5. Okay, we currently have 5 members. We just need 2 more members to begin our meeting.
Sorry, Amanda. Sorry, team. The reality, right, of having a council that's of community reps, parents that probably are trying to finish their workday to join us. So to those that joined us, thank you. So we'll wait a couple more minutes and see what happens. How's everyone?
All good. Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we have to have some fun, you know. We have to learn how to play the music. And I got birds, so I could, you know, get off mute and you'll just be like, yeah, she has birds.
What kind of birds do you have?
Lovebirds,
Aw.
lovebirds. And it's 3 of them. And I actually got them during the pandemic, when it first started. We had a friend that got very sick with COVID, and when he came out of the hospital, they're so noisy, right? That they're just he couldn't tolerate them, so we brought them home. We adopted them. So
Well, that's
they're
great that
cool.
they could make an addition to your household, and
Yes,
yeah.
they've been the background to all my Zoom calls and every meeting I'm at. But
All
thank
right.
you guys for joining.
Angel De Jesus just joined. We are recording, and we're just waiting for one more person. Just as a side note, and I was going to mention it later, CPS did schedule a town hall for high schools at 5 o'clock, and it's about reopening. And unfortunately, we, can't attend, but hopefully they will stream it on YouTube later so we can see all the notes. But I believe it takes place at the exact same time as this meeting. I think 5 to 6 or 5 to 6:30. So everybody's anxiously waiting to see what's going to happen with reopening for high schools.
Who's on the call, Mr. Jaramillo? Is there anyone that we could maybe reach out to see
Yeah,
if they're going to join? Or
Ms. Russo just texted me and said she will be a few minutes late, but she about 5 minutes late, so she will be here in a few
Okay.
minutes. I know she was trying to juggle 2 different practices, but we only need one more member to have 7.
Okay. Jeremy, you're with the youth. You guys are too quiet. Or do we have you on mute?
We're on mute.
Okay.
If we weren't on mute, we would, you all would have to kick us out because we get too loud. So, but we're here.
Jeremy, our student rep, Katie's on the call. Will be great that you connect with her, especially after the follow-up for the Divi presentation. So she could share it with her school community, with the youth from the school.
Yeah, that's great. I'll write my email in the chat for her and for anyone else who wants it. But I just sent it to the chat now, so we'll definitely be connecting.
Perfect. There you go.
All right, we now have another 2 members just joined us, so we're ready to go ahead and begin. Just to let
Awesome.
everybody know, we are recording this meeting. So I guess the music did the trick, huh?
Something. I was feeling it already. That actually got me ready for our council meeting. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to Steinmetz Local School Council meeting. We thank you for taking the time. We get excited when we have an audience, when we have people join us. So we start our meeting by calling this meeting to order and doing a roll call.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Present.
Ms. Valentine,
Present.
Mr. Keelis,
Here.
John Davis is here, Ms. Lopez,
Present.
Ms. Russo, Mr. De Jesus,
Present.
Ms. Hernandez,
Present.
Ms. Sanchez,
So talking about Ms. Sanchez, I got a letter from Ms. Sanchez. She is resigning from the council. So she has submitted a letter of resignation that I will present to the council. So that will put us at a parent vacancy. So we could cover that in our next meeting, but that's, I did receive a letter from her.
Mr. Suega, Mr. Toledo, Ms. Aguirre, and Ms. Cervantes.
Present.
8 members, we have a quorum. Time now is 5:09.
Thank you, Master Sergeant. So now we move on to the approval of the local school council agenda. The agenda, for those that are new on the call, the agenda is posted at the school entrances. It's also available online. Master Sergeant is our wonderful secretary, and he helps us get this organized for us every month. So that is where you could find the agenda. But I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I second.
Open for discussion.
Just announcement, it won't be online until you approve it. It's not on there yet.
Okay. Any other discussion regarding the agenda? Close of discussion. Roll call vote, Master Sergeant.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Yes.
Ms. Valentine,
Yes.
Mr. Keelis,
Aye.
Sergeant Davis, yes. Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Russo is not present. Mr. De Jesus?
Yes.
Actually, I am present.
Oh, you here? Your vote, ma'am? Okay. Mr. De Jesus said yes. Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez is not here. Mr. Suega, Mr. Toledo, Ms. Aguirre, Cervantes.
Yes.
9 yes, no, no. Vote pass 5.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the local school council minutes from the last month. So I make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second.
Again, council members, open for discussion. This is shared with you via email. So it's our responsibility, right, to take some time, review them, so then we are ready for discussion. So just making sure that everyone received it, and we're good. Any other discussion? Close up discussion, roll call vote.
Mr. Jaramillo,
Yes.
Ms. Valentine,
Yes.
Mr. Keelis,
Aye.
Sergeant Davis, yes. Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
Ms. Russo,
Yes.
Mr. De Jesus,
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez,
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez is absent, Mr. Oswego is absent, Mr. Toledo is absent, Ms. Aguirre is absent, and Ms. Cervantes.
Yes.
9 yes, no nos, motion passed. 5:12 p.m.
Thank you, Master Sergeant. So now we'll go to public participation. We usually allow public participation that is open to anyone in the community, parents, students, anyone in the that's wanting to present at Steinmetz has this opportunity. It's usually 2 minutes. I know that we have a couple presentations today, so we will just go as they registered. So Master Sergeant, you did that, so could you call on the public participation?
We only have one, and it's Ms. Rodriguez, if she's on the line. Ms. Rodriguez.
I don't see a Rodriguez on the list of individuals on the call right now, but
So if she comes on, while we're still on public participation, we'll let her do her, whatever she came in to discuss. So now I want to hand it over to Jeremy Cuevas and the Divi by program leads Amanda. We have been in conversation and exploring ideas, so really want them to share their findings with the council. Just to be clear, we don't need any vote or anything on this. They're just coming to us for our feedback to really include us, and that's exciting. So I just want to give Jeremy and Amanda an opportunity to make their presentation.
Good afternoon, members of the council. My name is Julio. I'll be jumping in real quick before Jeremy. Just want to thank you all, and thank you, Principal Jaramillo, for giving us this opportunity. I'm with Northwest Side Housing Center, and really I have the honor and privilege of working with Jeremy and the team, and just want to thank all the members of the council who have provided so much to the community. Today, we're going to talk to you a little bit about the work that's been at play for the last 6 years regarding transportation and how we can provide more resources to the youth and those that cycle, walk, and take the bus. And so I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy, who's going to share a little bit about what the work has been over the years, and then he'll introduce Amanda from CDOT. Jeremy?
Thank you so much, Julio. Is there a way that I can share my screen for a good minute? Let's see if I could do this.
yeah, at the bottom of the screen, there should be a box that says present now, all the way to the right.
Can you see my?
It's popping up, and yes, now we can see your screen.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Julio, for that introduction. My name is Jeremy. I am the youth organizer at the Northwest Side Housing Center. And before I pass it over to Amanda Amanda Johnson, I just wanted to show you all some photos and explain how the Northwest Side Housing Center has and CDOT and Divi has been engaging students not only from Steinmetz High School, but in the community as a whole when it comes to this idea of improving public transportation. I'm gonna take off my mask real fast so you guys can hear me better. So this whole idea of improving transportation started, like Julio said, around 5 to 6 years ago when our quality of life plan was being rolled out. And one of the things that was brought to our attention was youth work and also transportation. So I can talk for hours around youth and transportation, but I'll give you the shorter version. The last couple years, our youth have really taken on the mantle of improving transportation, meaning getting more bike lanes to our community. Currently, Belmont-Cragen is home to only 1 mile of bike lanes, and that's on the Diversity lane, on the Diversity route, and that's, that 1 mile is not painted or it's not protected. Also, there are currently 0 Divi docks in Belmont-Cragen as of right now. And also, we're working on CTA, improving the bus line when it comes to frequency and also cleanliness. So here are some photos on some rides, community rides, which some of you all have been a part of. All these pictures are from the last couple years. The picture to the right was our ride in 2019, which we had over 100 community members, over 50 youth show up. And in this picture to the right, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Steinmetz students that were a part of our youth council. Currently, we have 2 students from the Steinmetz school that is part of our youth council. So for the last couple of years, we've been engaging our residents. We've been talking to youth. We've been talking to community stakeholders with their thoughts on transportation, on their thoughts on bike lanes, on their thoughts on bringing Divi stations to our community. And here, the next slide, community engagement. We've hosted 2 community rides in Belmont-Cragen and over 20 shorter mini rides in the community. After each ride, we held small focus groups where we spoke with community members to hear where they were like Divi stations. It was no surprise that Steinmetz High School was a top possible location. Members of our youth council were featured panelists with Active Transportation Alliance, which is a nonprofit organization here in the city, with Congressman Chuy Garcia on Transit Equity Day to speak about how in our community we lack bike share options such as Divi. More than bikes, like I said earlier, we are also working with CTA to better the diversity bus route, which is currently rated an F by the Active Transportation Alliance. I'll stop sharing my screen, but we just wanted to kick this off. We wanted to kick off this presentation with what we've been doing as far as engaging residents in the community, engaging stakeholders in Belmont-Cragen. And I'll finish with passing it over to Brittany Bautista, who is a graduate of the class of 2020 of Steinmetz High School. And she just wants to share her experience on why, a Divi station at Steinmetz would make the most sense.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany Bautista. I am a graduate from Steinmetz, class of 2020, as Jeremy said. I honestly think that this is an amazing opportunity, not only for students, but for community members that live around the area. For students, it gives them a way of transportation. Not only do they have like the CTA, but with the Divi station, they could also have a way to get places, either like from their house to work or whatever the case may be. I also know that many students from Steinmetz use the bikes or ride bikes actually. So I really do think that this is an amazing opportunity for everybody, and I'm glad that this is happening.
Thanks, Brittany. And then I will pass it over to Amanda Woodall from CDOT and Johnson A.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction, and I'm glad to have such a warm welcome and discussion about all the activities that's gone into this effort so far. Johnson A. Johnson is my colleague. So first, I'll introduce myself. I'm Amanda Woodall. I'm the program director for the Divi bike sharing system at the Chicago Department of Transportation. A lot of people don't realize that Divi is a city-owned system, and our contracted operator is Lyft, and Johnson A. Johnson is the public affairs lead for Lyft. And so she's come to join the conversation tonight, and she can help answer any questions about programming ideas and things like that. But what I will do is go ahead and present my screen right now, share my screen to be able to give you guys a visualization on what we're looking at. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can see it now.
Great, thank you.
And Amanda, not to cut you, but I share the presentation with most of the council members, at least those that actively attend, and I have their email. So if you want to speed through it, you can, because I think we're, they'll have questions because they've seen the presentation. Okay.
Well, thanks for sharing in advance.
Of course.
And I will try not to take up too much time. The map that you see here shows the 3 phases of the Divi citywide system expansion. So the blue area to the far south side is currently wrapping up. We're really happy about the work we were able to do to engage community members to have a 78 station deployment there. The red areas on the map show our phase 2, and of course that includes the Belmont-Cragen area. We're doing a variety of things to work with community organizations and a ton of activities, because really, you know, our role is to ensure that this system is rolled out in a way that addresses the needs of residents, of students, but also of everybody within the community, and that we're able to place these stations in a way that are really serving people's day-to-day needs, whether it's recreation and leisure, you want to ride your bike to a park, or whether it's for transportation to be able to get to school or to connect to the train to get somewhere else. That's what we really want to do. So we really have valued all the conversations we've had so far. A key thing to know is that the system isn't just expanding, but it's also undergoing a major technology upgrade. So you see here at the top, these are the blue bikes that are the traditional pedal bikes that people typically see and associate with Divi. And those can only dock in a traditional heavyweight Divi station. But what we've done is added this new black hybrid electric bike that you see here at the bottom. And this is really a game changer, because the way that this works is you get on the bike and you start to pedal and the battery boost kicks in and you immediately are, you know, feeling stronger, able to go further, faster. And in addition to that, you have this flexibility, right? There's a built-in cable lock on the back of this bike, which means that the bike can dock in a traditional station, but it can also have a variety of ways for you to end your trip. We're no longer just focused on stations for people to be able to use the system. So this picture here shows, you know, the flexibility that we have of people being able to end their trips in really at any bike parking spot. And this also means that we have two different types of infrastructure that we're working with. So on the right here is the traditional heavyweight Divi station that is solar powered. We have, you know, it's a little more challenging to site because it has this built-in kiosk that makes it, frankly, a lot more expensive and means that we have fewer of them to work with. But with this new design on the new bikes, we're able to supplement all of these, and really the lion's share of new stations that will be coming to Belmont-Cragen are going to be this lighter weight design. It's more flexible, it's easier for us to be able to fit in smaller places, and also, you know, it has this kind of nice sleek look. It's not as imposing as this large heavyweight station. So what I want to do is present to you the location that CDOT's team recommends. As you know, we heard from our awesome partners at Northwest Side Housing Center, Steinmetz High School rose to the top as one of the prime locations in Belmont-Cragen that people would like to see a station. So the location that we are recommending is right here on Wellington, to the south of the school, and, you know, just to the east of Mulligan. And here's another, you know, sort of on the ground visualization of what we're looking at. Now we would need to relocate these bike racks, which would be pretty simple to do. We could move them over here to the other side of the crosswalk, and we will also need to fill in this tree pit. But the advantages to this location are, number one, it's on CDOT right of way. So CDOT owns the sidewalk here in this location. So it wouldn't require any formal action by the board or any formal action by CPS. We would be able to just come in and put it in. It's good access for our Divi vehicles. If we were to try to place something closer to like the grand entrance of the school, we would definitely need to spend some more time working out an agreement and making sure that our trucks are able to get back there and access it. So this seems like a really good starting point for the location. Right now, the capacity would be 9 docks, so 9 bikes would be able to park there. But as I demonstrated previously, people would also have the flexibility to lock up to, you know, other smaller racks. And we can certainly coordinate if it turns out that there's a ton of demand and that the station fills up and people are locking up to other things, then we can talk about increasing the size of the station, or potentially, you know, adding an additional one to serve demand. So this is, I think, a really great starting point. So I just wanted to, you know, as this sinks in for anybody who's seeing this information for the first time, and as you sort of consider the idea of us putting this in, I just want to highlight a couple of other things about the program. It is something that is for students who are 16 or older, or anybody 16 or older. So that's just one key point to keep in mind. We also recognize that there can, cost of the program can be a barrier. And so I just want to highlight that we do have a Divi for Everyone program, which is a subsidized membership program. It does have a cash payment option for people who lack, financial media. There are all different kinds of opportunities to enroll, and Johnson A. Johnson, who's on the call, has done great work in partnering with high schools and other community organizations to get people connected to this resource. So I wanted to make sure that as you're considering, the benefits of this, that everybody's aware of that program. I also just wanted to mention that as we're expanding, like I said, we're looking at probably about 20 new locations just in the Belmont-Cragen area. So this station would be connecting students to other things, other locations, other parks, other, restaurants, cafes, destinations, transit locations. So if you're out in the community and you see these yard signs that we've put out, these are some of the locations that we were considering. And that number of locations has grown, but this was the initial start. People are able to see this and do this QR code and the link here lead people to our online survey. So just so you do know, that's an opportunity that anybody on this call tonight can also participate in, and that's also where we get a lot of the feedback for what we're working on doing. People can click on the little red question marks, which are the locations we've suggested, and comment on whether they think that would be a good location or not. And they can also add these colored pins or different locations that people have also contributed for their ideas for new locations. So in addition to all of that, there's a lot of opportunity for additional programming. These photos up here at the top are from the planning ride that we did with Northwest Side Housing Center and the Belmont-Cragen Youth Council in the fall to identify some of these locations. There's opportunities for Divi for Everyone sign-up events. Lyft and Divi are able to support local community bike rides. There's a mini grant program for local organizations. Also, our Safe Ambassadors offer Learn to Ride programs for adults who maybe haven't ridden in a long time or never learned to ride a bike, and they use Divi bikes to do that work. And I love this photo on the lower right. This is a picture from Michelle Clark Magnet School that our partner Johnson A. Johnson organized a really great graduation event there. And I just love this photo from down on Harrison and Laramie, showing this event with all the youth in their caps and gowns. So that's the end of my slides. All my contact information is here. Does it make sense for me to roll back up to the location we were discussing and see if anybody has any comments or questions?
Does anyone have any question? Council members for Amanda?
Ideas, thoughts, critiques? We're also open to critique.
So you have shown that Steinmetz is going to be one of the prime locations for these Divi bikes, right?
It's one of the prime recommended locations, yes.
Okay, so one of the prime recommended locations. And seeing as a lot of students are going to be using this, do you have any other locations where students can return these bikes after, using them to getting home or riding home or going to school?
Yes, this station would be a part of a network of about 20 different new locations that we are proposing for Belmont-Cragen. Some of them are already shown. I don't have a full complete map of those, but yes, the answer is that you would be able to, any student would be able to access the bikes and take them, to near their residence or to a transit stop. And we will have those locations available we're going to be having a larger discussion about what the total network would look like. But some of those destinations include Reese Park and the Brickyard, Hanson Park, Blackhawk Park, definitely wanting to be able to access Diversey where the bikeway is currently. And there's a pretty robust conversation about the CDOT Bikeways Task Force as well, talking about different options for being able to build up that bikeways network too. So it's not like we would just be placing this one thing here and people wouldn't be able to connect to other things. We definitely want this to be part of a network.
Oh, thank you.
So
Yeah.
kind of along the same lines, I just have a clarifying question. So I see that the new bikes, you're able to chain them up along a pole or something else. So does that mean also kind of like the e-scooters, you can just like leave it attached to a pole and you don't have to return it to a station? Somebody will come get it, or do you have to take it back to a station?
It's the former. You're correct that there is the flexibility to end your trip outside of a station. There are some parts of the city where you pay an extra premium for that, but not in this part of the network. And anybody who's a member of Divi for Everyone also has a significant discount if they do go into that zone. But to answer your question, yes, people have the flexibility to lock up to a bike parking rack. I mean, they could also lock up to the fence here. Like, I think it's reasonable to suspect that if there's a lot of demand and the station is full, people could end up doing that. We do have a pretty rapid response for whenever there's a problem. If this is something, we would want to work directly with you to make sure that there isn't too much clutter, that no one's obstructing the public right of way. So we can always work directly with you on that. But also for anybody on the call, yes, people do have the flexibility to end their trip anywhere in the service network, whether it's in a station or not, but also wanted to make sure that people know we do have a rapid response through 311. So if there is a person who doesn't understand the rules or what is expected, there's a 2-hour required response when people report these via 311. So I just wanted to also highlight that sometimes when we talk about that flexibility of ending trips, some people get really excited about the new opportunities that gives, but also people have concerns about making sure that the neighborhood stays tidy and that we don't have clutter or obstructions. So we're looking at it from both directions.
And I'd just like to acknowledge one of our council members has a question. Mr. Keelis?
Yeah, I don't know who am I going to direct this question to, but seeing the picture that is being shown, and being that one of the doors that we have high demand of students running out, and wouldn't it make it easier for them to run out, jump on a bike, and leave the school area faster? Just an observation.
I don't know that I can address that question, but I think I understand.
Yeah, I think, considering that the process is not, you just grab a loose bike and start running with it. I mean, you have to take time. It would actually slow them down if they wanted to grab a bike, because they would have to unchain it. They'd have to register, all that other stuff to get access. And by that time, it'll actually help us out probably to get to them faster, to bring them back in the building. So I don't think it's not, unless they, have somebody on the outside trying to hook them up with a bike beforehand so they can run out and grab it and keep going. I don't necessarily know if it'll speed them up.
Well, observing what happens during the regular school time, that usually is the situation, that they do have somebody waiting for them outside. That's something that I could testify to as seeing. So I'm not against this bike thing. I'm just looking at up in the front of what more problems could cause, if any, to the community itself and our children or our young adults leaving the building.
Yeah, and I think that question will be more for Mr. Jaramillo, and I think that's why we're getting a presentation, right? So we know what to prepare for, right? If this does happen, right? In our campus per se. So I think Mr. Jaramillo is just something to think about with the team and something that we plan for, right? I mean, I agree. I don't think it's just grab a bike and let's go. But I get it. It's there. And I look at it as a parent that sometimes can't pick up my son. He now could get on a Divi bike and ride bike, hearing about it, right? That he could take it out of the network. Is that true? Like, could he take it like outside, like the Steinmetz area, or he had? Yeah. Okay. So
Absolutely.
right. so for him, it will be a source of transportation. And also, right, getting from Steinmetz to Walmart, that's just down Diversey, that's giving him access, right? So we could save on Uber, which Uber is really costing us a lot of money, and it's a peace of mind. So I think as a parent, I think it's a great idea for our students.
Does anybody have any further questions or any more information I can provide?
I do have a
Yeah.
question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And thank you. And it's regard of the funding. So once this will be approved, well, first of all, I think that's a great opportunity of transportation for those kids that are responsible and they will using this resource in a benefit way. I think what Mr. Quiles said, I think that make us as an LSC members to be aware that once this good project be approved and being a reality in the neighborhood close to the high school, will make us do extra effort to make sure the safe and the control on the enrollment of the kids to stay in the school at the school hours and not use this as an opportunity to run out. And third, how the funding is gonna be. I mean, where's the funding is gonna come from to pay for this project?
Oh, regarding funding, it's a city and Lyft partnership program. So there's no cost to the school. There's no cost to the community. This is a part of a citywide effort to improve transportation and connectivity for all Chicagoans. So there are no cost implications to the school or to the organization.
Okay, thank you for answering my question.
Absolutely. I would also say that just one point to the concerns regarding students potentially using this as a getaway. If we do have issues that arise, we are more than happy to come back and continue to talk about this and talk about, other potentials. If it seems like this location, we can start here, we can move forward with this, and there's the flexibility to move it. It doesn't have to be, there's no other requirements other than our team just coming and placing it and keeping it stocked. So if this particular door turns out to be a problem, we can partner to talk about potential, other locations. I will admit that in our effort to identify this location, there are a lot of challenges around any school, as you all know, with pickup and drop off times and just curbside and parking resources for neighbors. So this does seem to us to be the best opportunity we have. But in the future, we can monitor it. We're more than happy to continue the conversation, and we can make adjustments as we go. If it seems like this particular installation is, really exacerbating an existing problem or creating any new challenges, we're really happy to talk about it.
I just have
quick question. I'm sorry. Let me go, Master Sergeant Davis. Let me go real quick.
Wait.
Hi, my name is Mr. De Jesus. Quick question. The station that you guys are going to put up, does it have to stay street side? Does it have to be street side?
That's what we would typically prefer, because it leaves a clear path for people walking to be able to just, if you're walking down the sidewalk coming from the west, you don't have to swerve or move around. Our traffic safety engineers typically prefer for us to keep a clear path from the sidewalk.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that, it's a hard and fast rule. We take it all case by case. Do you see an advantage to having it? I'm
just thinking about our space at the school, and obviously it would have to be a longer conversation, but we have a couple bike racks in the front, and I was just thinking maybe it would fit like around that area. But then I can understand your problem when it comes to like if you have technicians or people picking up the bikes and stuff like that, they would have to walk about 50 feet into our front campus to be able to access those. But that's a conversation we could work on, just in case if the problem arises with the whole grab a bike and go concept. Hopefully that's not the case though. Hopefully it works out where you guys placed it. So something to think about.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. I think, and another point is, if we were to take this and place it that far into, CPS property, it will require more administrative actions and deeper conversations.
Yeah.
Because this spot is city public right of way. It's owned by CDOT. We're empowered to place this here. That doesn't mean we can't talk about new placement in the future. It just means that will require more administrative action, and so it will be more time consuming for us to get it on the ground. Will be definitely time consuming.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Just one thing, we're just taking it for granted that a lot of students know how to ride a bike because they have them or whatever. But my only issue really is that if you leave outside school after hours, Narragansett is pretty busy. And the roadway and signs, additional signs for bike, crosswalks, and additional support for our students when they leave the campus because it's very dangerous, even walking. So riding a bike and not used to riding a bike can be dangerous to our students. So have we looked at any of the safety concerns as it relates to additional markings, signs, and crosswalks in the neighborhood?
Thanks for raising that. Oh, go ahead.
Amanda, maybe it'll be great to tie this up to the other CDOT projects that are going to happen around the safety, because I think then it would all then kind of make more sense that the bikes are coming because we're making safer streets. So if you could share that on your from your side of it, please.
Absolutely, and I regret that I don't have that deck. It's so my colleague David Smith, who runs the Bikeways program at CDOT, he and his colleagues have spearheaded a neighborhood bikeways task force for the Belmont-Cragen area, which includes wards 36, 30, and 31. Many community members have participated in our first meeting, and the general effort there is saying, if we're bringing Divi and we want to improve transportation resources, what they really want to do is create a connected network of comfortable, safe bikeways throughout the community. So as Jeremy mentioned when we first started the call, really Diversey is the only corridor that has a marked bikeway. So they've begun this process of identifying other opportunities for adding bike lanes onto busier streets, or to prioritizing smaller, quieter side streets to really emphasize the presence of cyclists in the whole network. So it isn't just Divi coming in; it's also a future bikeways network that's coming forth. So we are very, very focused on the ability for the built environment and infrastructure to increase safety and emphasize the presence of cyclists. But also, one of the things that is great about Chicago is this connected grid network that we have all around us. So for instance, Fullerton is a really, really busy, motor vehicles going in two different directions in the same lane. There's no bike lane. There's a big effort to improve the corridor and to add better crossings and all these other facilities. But really, ultimately, it's just not going to be a great place for people to ride bikes. But what's great is that there are so many quiet, shady cross streets that go along adjacent to it, north and south, and then also, connecting. So people on bikes are still able to access the businesses and the resources that are on Fullerton, but we don't have a full plan for a bikeway to get installed there. And I think a lot of this also speaks to the work of our safety team, which is the SAFE ambassadors. The SAFE is an acronym for Streets Are for Everybody. And the idea is, they have all sorts of educational programming. So if there is an effort or an interest in specifically boosting street cycling skills and knowledge about, how to use a bike to get around, what the rules of the road are, and also just how to protect yourself and how to select a safer route for where you're going, we can definitely work with them to create some kind of programming specifically for Steinmetz. We can have an event, which can also be a great opportunity to connect people to the Divi for Everyone program. So that would be, I think your concerns are really valid, and I think we have like a sort of potpourri of options for how we can address them. That's helpful.
Thank you, Amanda.
I,
I see Jose has his hand up and Julio.
yes, I would like to address two concerns. Um, I understand the situation of transportation. I think it would be great for our kids, and I wouldn't object to that. But my question is, has this been brought to the community? Because Steinmetz is one of the, I think, if not the only one, school that it's inside of a community. And basically, yes, we look out for the best for Steinmetz, but we also have to look out for what the community has to say about these things, because there's a lot of other things that could be brought with this, that the hanging out of young kids in the area. That I'm on the second one. I'm concerned that they will use these bikes to go into the track, the brand new track that we have, because that's what they do. They ride the bikes. I mean, I saw that yesterday. 5, 6 bikes. They put them over the fence, and they were inside the field. So, I mean, these are concerns that by doing one good thing, we mess up the other that we have already done. So, I mean, has these conversations have taken place with the community in the area of Steinmetz?
So when you refer to the community, you're referring to the residents
Yes.
around the school
Yes.
specifically?
Yes.
We have not had, to my knowledge, a targeted meeting with residents around the school. I will look to my partners at the 36th Ward and Northwest Side Housing Center to talk about the efforts that we have made to engage people, but we have not, as of yet, that I'm aware of, had a conversation specifically with residents around the school. One thing that I will mention, just if it helps at all, obviously the problem of youth jumping a fence with their bikes to use the track, that's a community issue that I'm not involved in, but I will mention that each of these bikes weighs 63 pounds. So these bikes, I'm guessing, will not be contributed to that. And the blue pedal bikes weigh 43, so it's not quite the same. So just speaking to that issue, that's the response I can give. But we're open to recommendations and ideas about how to engage residents near the high school. I mean, my thought would be that there's so much activity that's happening near the school that
I think, Amanda, I think you have the partners, and I think maybe Julio or Jeremy could answer that question. I will say that in the presentation, Amanda displayed that there have been banners and information out in the community for quite some time, because I've even seen them, which are this is what she showed us. It's something that looks like this, and it's a yard sign. And this has been distributed in the community, right? So I think there is some feedback, but to your point of talking to people in that area that's like maybe directly affected by it, that's also something that us as a school community, we could have those conversations, because there's a benefit for us, right, as a school, and there may be a benefit for the community, and there may be no benefit, right? So we should also take some responsibility. So Amanda, I make a commitment, as you're coming to us as a local school council, it's our responsibility then to share this information with other parents of the school and also the surrounding community. So we have to do that outreach, right? Because you're coming to us, you're not saying that this is done, right? You're saying, I'm presenting this to you. So we'll bring back that feedback to you. So I perceive us talking to our community like everything else, and this may be a great thing for all of them, right? So I truly appreciate you doing your presentation. I know Julio had a couple more comments, but I think to be respectful to our next presenter, I just want to wrap this conversation of the Divi station after Julio, if possible.
Great, thanks, Vanessa, and I'll be brief. I just want to thank the local school council members for their comments and insights. I would say a couple quick things. We're committed to working with the student rep. I think it's a really good conversation that where we can have the students comment. Secondly, we're happy to share some more data. To date, correct me if I'm wrong, Amanda, there is no evidence that shows that truancy has increased as a result of the proximity of Divi stations. And to your point, Ms. Shaquilas, we're happy to talk about this in the next upcoming weekends as 11,000 people come back to the school to get their second vaccine. I know Jeremy will be there every Saturday, so Jeremy, you and I can talk offline, or we can print out this material and make sure that every person that walks through the door is aware of this. Thank you.
Well, I will end my presentation portion now. I just wanted to thank everybody for their comments. Happy to, continue the discussion, and just really appreciate the time and consideration from everybody on the call. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Master Sergeant, we have, did the parent join? Because if not, we'll go straight to Yearbook.
Let me call the parent. The parent name is Sandra Rodriguez.
Okay. Is there a Sandra? Not present?
Ms. Rodriguez, I'm not for sure.
Okay. So we'll go to our yearbook presentation.
So thank you very much for that. Regarding the yearbook, we invited 3 different companies, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. We have Jostens and Wellsworth, and I believe, is it Herf Jones?
That's right.
Yep. Okay. Is Jostens here? Any other yearbook companies? No. Okay. So I just want to make sure. So I don't know exactly what order. We didn't put an order together. So maybe we just go alphabetical. Is that okay?
Ladies first. Catherine, take it away.
We like alphabetical better.
I'm sorry, you're on mute right now. It's early.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
Is Jostens here? I mean, if we were doing alphabetical order.
Yeah, I asked. No one responded for Jostens.
Oh, okay. And that would, well, actually, that would put Herf Jones first. Go ahead, Amy. That's fine.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you. Nice to meet you all. Thank you for including me. And I got to say, listening to the Divi thing was kind of fun because I'm a rider and I went electric a little while ago and people laughed at me. But boy, it is an awesome way to travel on an electric bike. So that was fun to watch. My name is Jamie Silver. I'm with Herf Jones Yearbooks. I've been here for 20 years and I did yearbook ever since I was a kid. So it's in my blood. And I've worked with Chicago Public Schools for all 20 years. To give you a couple ideas of local, Calvin Park just joined our family this year, as well as Northside and Walter Payton College Prep. Proud to have worked with them since they opened the doors back in 2001. So the company's been around 100 years. Actually, can I share my screen?
Yeah, you should be able to.
While we talk, here we go. Let's see. Let me know if that's working. You should be able to see my whole screen, probably including Google here on the left. So I just wanted to share who we are as a company and then answer any questions. And I believe Miss Russo, is she on the call still? I think we exchanged some emails maybe last year. So please feel free to, Miss Russo, do you do yearbook?
I do not.
Okay. I didn't know if the yearbook advisor was on the call, so I don't want to. I love yearbook. Obviously, Catherine knows yearbook well, so I happy to show you as much detail as you'd like, but it might be getting in the weeds, but I'm here to answer any questions. As a company, just real quick, Herf Jones is part of a larger company called Varsity Brands, and that's what I'm sharing here on our public website. You may be familiar with us in some of the other areas. It's made up of 3 companies, BSN Sports, Varsity Spirit, and Herf Jones, right? You may work with us in some of those other areas. I live just on the yearbook side within Herf Jones. So within Herf, let me just click here. there are basically two divisions within our own company. So graduation and yearbook. I do yearbook. That's what I've done since middle school myself. So I wanted to share a couple examples of our new website that is available today for schools to use based on HTML5, getting away from the old school stuff, which was Flash. Has anyone ever heard of Adobe Flash Player? Yeah, and there's a lot of websites that were Flash based, including ours last year, that were blocked by the browsers because it was based on the old tech. So we've spent a long time and a lot of resources to recreate everything from the ground up based on HTML. And it's working here, and I've got a bunch of schools using it, so I'd like to show it to you. But before I do, are there any specific questions? Because I think we have a vast audience here that you would like to know from my presentation.
To be honest with you, we're CPS parents, and what we're looking at is cost.
Got
I
it.
think to keep it real, right? I think we leave the graphics and all that to the yearbook and Mr. Jaramillo, the admin. I think for us this is why we're here, right? Because we're looking for a new vendor. So just keeping it real, right?
Okay.
That's what we're looking at.
Okay. And you currently work with Jostens, is that right?
Mr.
No,
Jaramillo?
we currently work with Wallsworth.
Oh, you work with Cat. Okay, got it. Okay. So a couple things I want to share with you going forward into next school year. I don't know if anyone on the call has heard of Canva by chance. It's a great website, right? It's free to use for a lot of basic things. We've partnered with them, and we are not only leveraging Canva, but we're an investor and we're embedding Canva right into our program. So when it comes time to doing photo editing, graphics, all that, I want to show you a couple videos. They're all under a minute. So I'm going to just show these real quick. So for your students and yearbook advisor to do photo editing, you can do that directly in the program. Kids love filters like Instagram and other social media sites I'm sure I'm not familiar with. And I'm going to pause here. By any chance, has anyone here ever done a cutout background, even personal use, where you remove the background of a photo? Canva does it, and it's amazing because to do this by hand in Photoshop is a true skill, and they've automated the process with the AI, and we're embedding this directly in so your students can work on this from home or school or whatnot. Duotones, and then the next one is the cutout. Might be silly, but for those who have done a cutout know that it takes hours to do that. And now we're embedding that tool where people can do it in a click. Okay, and then they can go in and tweak it too. One other quick one. Some great, exciting stuff coming for this year. This one is more if anyone's done like Illustrator work or anything like that. This one's 40 seconds. Being able to make their own headlines, be able to design their own cover with text and do these cool effects on it. Bar graphs, pie charts, again, all natively in the software. Okay, I feel like Apple made those commercials with the upbeat music. It's fun, late in the evening here, right? So any questions about the software? I get your point with the, get real and get to the pricing, and I'm happy to do that. Is this, obviously, we're competitors here on the call. Are we doing a formal proposal process, or what are the next steps as far as that?
Mr. Jaramillo?
So, yeah, I mean, when the council approached me about this, what the council asked for was for a presentation from the yearbook companies. So that's why I invited the yearbook companies to come here. So I asked Mr. Roldan to share with each yearbook company what we purchased last year, those parameters, so that each company could propose similar cost proposals. It's up to the council members because you guys asked for this presentation. I don't know what exactly you want to get out of it. Do you want them to share with you pricing? Do you want them to send it to you so I can share it with you later? This is really about a presentation for the council to meet your request of having them present to all of us to make a decision or to help us make a decision of what direction we're going to go in for next year.
And I'm fine, happy to do either one. I just want to make sure I follow your process, however you choose to outline it.
I would defer to those council members that wanted the presentation.
Ms. Russo, is that you?
No. Yeah. My name is Jose Quiles. I'm a community member here.
Nice to meet you.
And one of the things that we understand that it's getting too expensive to get the yearbook. We don't want to lose the quality. We just want to make sure that our parents could afford it. Because as you see, Belmont Cragen is not lakefront. We have people that cannot sometimes afford a yearbook, and some of this money could be used for other things. We had a meeting before with the other company. Supposedly they were going to come down. What I'm hearing is they're going up, but we want to stay in the same kind of quality that's been given to our students. We want the best, but we want to make sure that they're not going to hurt at the end.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, and I'm proud to say that we've been here. It's actually our 101st year, and I'd be happy to put you in touch with some of those other local schools, and you could ask those questions directly. You would not be compromising quality going to us. This is what we do. And pricing, you know, I'm pretty sure we're competitive, but again, I just want to follow the parameters that you set out, whatever that is, so we can be fair about that.
Yeah, I think right in a council meeting, we don't want you maybe to respect to each company. You don't have to give us the pricing. Do your basic presentation, send Mr. Jaramillo and the council those different quotes, and then the council then could further discuss. I don't think we're going to vote today. I don't think that we're going to make a decision today. I don't know if that was the intent, but I don't think it should be. So out of, you know, respect to you guys, if the process is emailing it, we're cool with that.
Okay. Would you like me to demonstrate a piece of our software? Just give you a glance of it. Again, I'm happy to dive in. I love this stuff, but I don't want to bore you to death either. You tell me what you like. I could show you 2 minutes if you want. Yeah.
I think if they took the time, might as well see it.
Great. Let me just show you a couple of things, because this is the next generation of our software. We've had the previous generation for 15 years now. We learned a lot from Flash and we updated it to HTML. That's the big change this year, and it's really opened up the possibility. So this view I love because you can kind of step back and see all the pages at a glance. Right. I'm going to work on page 2. I just double click. So just to give you an idea of how user friendly it is for your students, if you were to consider making the change. I'm going to drop a few photos in over here and just show you how we crop photos. So the videos I showed you was pre-recorded video. This is live demo of the software that schools are using. Okay. So I'm just going to drop a few in and show you how the cropping works. So if I want to crop a photo, I can double click, and as you might expect with any intuitive software, right, I'm going to grab this slider and zoom in on this one student who is very proud to graduate. Click elsewhere, and it crops the photo. Okay. Again, same thing here. Zoom in, crop. It doesn't take you into another window to edit a photo. It's all very intuitive right on the software. Another common thing that teachers ask us is, okay, I put the picture down, but it's a big rectangle. What if I want to make it a narrow, tall, vertical photo? Okay. Easy way to do it. We double click, we grab these yellow controls, we reposition the photo, and now it's a vertical photo. So with our software, you can start with our template, which this is, and then customize it as much or as little as you want, and then resave it as your own. So for example, if you don't want these 3 photos, click, delete, make this photo larger. And basically you can go through and change this to meet your needs, however you need, right? But we provide you a ton of templates to start. My example, when I'm working with students, it's writer's block, right? If I'm staring at this blank screen for 2 pages in the yearbook and they don't know where to start, I'm happy to teach them design with the teacher, or I can show them a template and say, you know what, let's grab one of these, use it as a starting point, and then you can change it to make it your own. So back to the financial side, my goal with all the schools I work with is to help foster the program in the way that the yearbook pays for itself, if not acts as a fundraiser through yearbook sales and ads and all that. So the cost of printing it, my goal is for all the schools I work with, that's covered by parents purchasing the book, and it doesn't cost the school money. Any questions I can answer for you?
Yes, I just want to. I know you want us to design, but I just want, for me, I want to just make sure that the students are doing the design, because I'm not up to date on everything. What they like is their book. I just want to make sure that I don't get into those details. I don't know if anybody else wants to.
That's a great point. Yeah, this is the student's book, and the way I see it is our job is to empower them to learn the program and then run with it. This should be something they're proud of, not something I make or the teacher makes, whoever sees it.
And that's another consideration I'd like to put out there too, is that we have to also consider what the teacher's perspective is regarding using the software, because now they would have to change their entire approach to the course if they switch software. So we also have to look at those things before a decision is made. But again, we asked every vendor, we invited 3 different vendors at your request. We gave them each 10 minutes to present. And so just want to make sure we're respectful of that time for everyone.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions for Herf Jones, right?
That's right. Yep.
Okay, Herf Jones.
No questions.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next, we have Catherine Hurley of Walsworth. Is that correct?
Yes, I am here.
All right. Great. If you could go ahead and present.
Sure. It says that Jamie Silver is presenting now, so.
Sorry.
I apologize. Let me turn that off. Sorry about that.
It's a common thing, common mistake. Okay, let me get this up and ready. So good afternoon. I am excited to be here. Thank you. I guess it's evening now, isn't it? I'm excited to be here and want to thank you very much for the opportunity. Your Walsworth team consists of myself. My name is Catherine Hurley. I'm your partnership representative. I am local in the Chicago area and provide the bulk of service for the yearbook program. With me here today is Mark Sigmund. He's a Great Lakes sales manager. Mark, if you want to say hello.
Hello, everyone. I am the Great Lakes area manager for Walsworth, and I live in Dayton, Ohio. And I just wanted to join Catherine here to show support for her and support for your school and what we can do from the yearbook standpoint. And thank you for your past business. We do appreciate it. But Catherine will run the show here. But if you have questions for me at the end, as I said, I've been doing this for 31 years, and I have a lot of knowledge when it comes to yearbooks.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah. And also another person that's dedicated to Steinmetz is Krista Lofstrom. She's not able to be here, but she is in our plant, our customer service representative, and is always available as well to help out. So that's the basic part of the Walsworth team for Steinmetz. Go Streaks, by the way, I forgot to say that. So who is Walsworth? Well, for starters, we've been working with Steinmetz, I'm very proud to say, since the year 2000. And that is not all of Mark Sigmund's tenure here, but it is for a lot of it. For 21 years, we've been doing your yearbook, and we've been really happy to do that for you and would love to continue to do that. We are one of the 5 largest yearbook companies in the United States. We are the only family-owned and operated yearbook company. And when I say that we're a yearbook company too, I do want to make it clear that yearbooks is what we do. That is pretty much all that we do. We don't sell caps and gowns and other, things in the school. We really are just dedicated and specialize in yearbooks. And so because it is our core business, it is almost the only thing that we do. I just want you to know, it's important for me to me that you know that Steinmetz College Prep Yearbook is a very big deal to us at Walsworth, and we thank you for your continued partnership. So one of the things that I think is really important is to talk about the fact that choosing a yearbook provider is really a lot different from choosing a lot of other things that you might think about buying for a school. It's not at all like buying caps and gowns or paper or highlighters or, any of the other things, many of the other things that you would think to purchase in a school. And the reason it's different, there's a lot of reasons actually. One is that it is a process, and as was mentioned already, it is largely driven by students. In other words, students conceptualize this book from the very beginning. They make decisions about what content goes in the page. They make decisions about who to approach as far as what that content will be in terms of interviews, stories, interviews, pictures, etc. So that's a very big difference right there, is the way that yearbook is put together. It takes, in your case, it's a class. And it takes all year, until they do the final deadline, and then even distribution takes a little bit of work as well. Also, yearbooks are forever. This is something that's going to be sitting on the shelves of the students of Steinmetz for the rest of their lives. I mean, I have my yearbooks from back in the day that I do look at them from time to time. And, that's something that sticks around. It's not like you use it and, it doesn't matter. The next year you move on to something else. It does matter because it is the thing that will record the history of Steinmetz that particular year. It is, in fact, the only recorded history of Steinmetz that year. So it's very, very service-oriented rather than product-oriented. And one of the big differences is that throughout the year, your provider will need to interact with students and with the yearbook advisor and with other people in the school, doing training. They are going to be motivating the students, encouraging the students, inspiring the students. So that's what I've done, and that's what I'd like to continue doing, but it does make yearbook very, very different. I understand that price is important, and we will get to that. But I just think it's important, and I think Mr. Silver would agree with me that yearbook is a little bit different. So what are the things that matter most in yearbook? And I think this is really important for you guys to think about. I did not make this list. This was a list that was created basically by consensus, but you can find it on any website. It tells anything about selecting a yearbook. These are the things that really, really matter the most in yearbook. And the first thing is 24/7 access. And what I mean by that is that the program that you are using needs to be available from anywhere that the kids can jump on at school, they can jump on at home, if they're at the library, if they're at McDonald's, that they can, anywhere that they have internet access, that they can jump on and work on their yearbook. And so that is something that we have. Experience matters. Well, as far as Walsworth, for 21 years, we've been a valued and we've been in a valued and mutually beneficial partnership with Steinmetz. So I don't know that we can, anybody can beat us on experience, because we know your kids, we know your school. Back when I used to walk into your school, I'd see the students in the yearbook class all the time, and they'd say hello, they know me. So that's, I think, a big deal. Rep availability. I would like you to ask your yearbook advisor, Mr. Roldan, about this. I know he will speak about it. I know he often reminds me that I was at my mother-in-law's funeral out of town and took his call. So, and I've done it on vacation as well. So I know he will tell you that I am always there for him. Creative services design, yeah, that's something that is available when you want it. We've got all the bells and whistles in our online design program as well. Some of the stuff that you just saw, but in addition to that, we have a very good team that actually developed this particular yearbook. If you can see me, I don't know if you can see me very well, but this is last year's yearbook. And this was designed by our creative services design group. I just love that yearbook. So options, we have all the options: embossing, laser cut, lamination. We can add foil, anything under the sun. These are things that schools who are trying to up their game, make their yearbook a little bit special, all want to take advantage of those things. When you're really concerned about price, it's probably not something that we do a lot of, but we have in the past, and those options are available. Low pricing options. So I think somebody mentioned earlier that our price was going up. Can whoever that was talk to me for a moment about where you heard that?
I guess you're talking to me. This is Jose Quiles, community rep. I dealt with the other gentleman, not here, but we dealt with him because I was in the council prior to this many years ago, and we had a contract as far as they going lower on the price if we had a 2-year contract with the company. So that's where it's coming from.
Okay. Yeah, that's not a discussion that we've ever had with you guys, because I know we do 1 year at a time with you, and that's fine. So as far as low pricing options go, I just hope that you guys have faith and believe. We demonstrated our flexibility this past fall when we gave you all the different options for the yearbook that the kids are working on right now. So I just want you to know that we're always willing to work with you on price. We went from one size of a book last year down to another size, and shifted everything around to accommodate your pricing needs. So I just want you to know that that is something that we will continue to do. Up-to-date technology, our HTML5 version is in its 2nd year. We are the only yearbook company. And I think this is part of the reason, with Walsworth being solely focused on yearbook, we tend to be a leader in the technology. And that rang through again when Flash was going through its issues. We created our HTML5 version. We are now in our 2nd year, and there have been no issues that Mr. Roldan or the yearbook class would have reported. Technical support, obviously very important because you're working the software. So we have a dedicated phone line, we have a chat feature, and we have a dedicated email account. So there's all different ways that students and your yearbook advisor can reach us, depending upon the time of day, the urgency of the issue, etc. So help is always right there. And as far as training, I am in Steinmetz, obviously not this year, but I have been in the past in Steinmetz a lot. And I have to say, I've been with the students, it's at least 10 times a year. I always bring donuts. So they are always excited when I come in. But beyond that, I'm there to support and encourage and help solve problems and inspire and so forth. So those are the things that I really love to do. That's what I love about Yearbook. And I'm delighted to be able to do that with Steinmetz. Do I have any questions about anything we've gone over so far?
I have no questions.
Okay. So one of the common threads, I think, from all of this is that service from your provider really is the most important thing when deciding what yearbook company to use. And so I would just like to show you some of the things that advisors say about Walsworth and about me. And this first one is even from your very own advisor. Those are some of the things that your advisor has said that I think is really important, and other advisors. So I want to thank you very much for this opportunity to meet with you today and share a little bit about Walsworth. I'd love to show you some of our technology if that was ever of any interest. But I just think it's really important to know that we, Walsworth, are very proud to be part of the Steinmetz College Prep legacy, and we want to continue our partnership, and we're willing to do what it takes to make that happen. So do I have any questions?
I don't have any.
I think, to be fair, the same thing that the chairperson mentioned before, that, you know, put something, pricing together, pass it on to our principal, and the principal will share it with us so we could sit down and maybe talk about different options.
Of course.
And thank you for your presentation. We really appreciate your time tonight and for being patient with us. If I could invite both of you to share your contact information in the chat, just in case anybody wants to follow up with a direct question, I'd appreciate that. And just write down your contact information and which company you're with.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Jaramillo, does
Jamie
that
as well.
conclude the presentation of yearbooks?
Yes, we invited Justin's, but Justin's did not show up to the meeting.
Yeah, so I'm not asking neither company to answer this question now, but I think about yearbook is not something that moves my senior, right? Or my junior, right? There's still students that don't get the yearbook. Could you guys both talk in the information you share about electronic options for yearbooks versus being the hard book that we think we all keep, but we don't, because I don't even have my yearbook. So I just want to hear about those options.
So back about 10 years ago or so, there was a movement in the industry, a thought that perhaps yearbooks might go digital. And so we started to offer digital yearbooks as an option for all of our customers. And Mark, you were there, you probably remember, what percentage of our customers actually chose the the digital yearbook?
I don't even know if it was a percentage. It was a very, very low number because people wanted the book on the shelf. You know, I would agree with Catherine that back in the mid 2000s, you know, like 2009, 2008, people thought, yeah, I would get questions. Oh, you're in the yearbook business. Doesn't Facebook take over that, or isn't social media going to take over that? I think some people thought that was going to happen, but that just happens quickly and it's gone. The yearbook on the shelf. I've said this before, and you know, Jamie, you've been around a while too, and you know, 31 years, I've seen a lot of layouts and a lot of designs, and I probably feel like I've seen them all. But what really is my passion is when I walk into a school and I see that 1905 yearbook lined up on a shelf all the way across, and I see all those yearbook, and that you can pull one off the shelf during World War II, and you can pull one off during another time, and especially this COVID time. Yearbooks are really important. We've actually seen our numbers go up because people want that yearbook, that history book that's on the shelf. Obviously, it's valued by some people, value it more than others, but really, I mean, when I started 31 years ago, they were going to try to do VHS yearbooks. They had these big cameras they carried around on their shoulders, and nobody bought them. Then they thought, well, let's try DVD yearbooks in the back of the printed book. Those went nowhere as well. So, I mean, believe me, Herff Jones would be like us. If there was a market to do it, we would do it. We just haven't seen that. The printed book is where we put our focus. Not to say that, you know, the daily news isn't important to see on the phones and things like that, but that's just my perspective on it. So.
And to keep things current, we have added an element that can be added to the book, like a QR code, so a video can pop up or a slideshow or what have you. I mean, we have done those additional things, but it has been our experience, and Jamie, I'd love to hear what you have to say. It's been our experience that people want the book.
Yeah, I would agree. The yearbook, that's not a virtual background behind me. Those are books that I've printed over the last 20 years. The yearbook is one of those things, as you both shared, it's permanent. It's always on the shelf. Mark, you referenced the VHS. I remember those days because it was VHS, and to tag on that, then the CD-ROM came out, and that would replace it. You mentioned DVD, Laserdisc. When Facebook, MySpace, that was going to kill the yearbook, right? Who uses MySpace, right? So Facebook isn't cool anymore for teenagers. Those things will always come and go. They have for decades. Back to VHS, audio cassettes, right? The book will work, and the book doesn't require old software, power, battery. It just works. Part of my follow-up too, I'll share with you a video that we made on this topic. But rather than fighting it, what Herff Jones did do is we did create something called Plus One. And what Plus One is a digital companion to the printed yearbook. And the important point here is it's a companion, because I forget who asked the question, but the interest, you know, I was faced with that in the classroom too, with students asking, boy, why do I need to spend the $40, $50 for yearbook? I've got MySpace, I've got, you know, Facebook and all that. So we don't want to cannibalize your yearbook sales, but with Herff Jones, anyone who buys a book also gets a digital companion, and that's just an app on the mobile device, which is great for students. Say they're seniors, they're graduating, they're going to the workforce, they're going off to college. They're not going to carry those books with them. They might look at them. I venture to guess they will look at them at their 20-year reunion, their 30-year reunion. But right out of school, whether they're working or in college, to be able to flip through their book on their phone, it's a great idea, right? And it's an option. It doesn't cost anything else, anything additional from us. And again, it comes with the purchase of a book. So if your students bought the Steinmetz book from us, they would also get a digital companion. They can flip through the book, they can zoom in and all that.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, thank you very much again for your presentation, and thank you for putting your contact information in the chat. And I will ask Mr. Roldan to send you the parameters of what we did last year, because I'm assuming those would be the parameters that we would like a quote on for next year. But then, you know, with the understanding that a quote could change, you know, size, options, all that by the end product. But it's just to have a discussion point that I could present to the council when you guys submit a quote with options for our council.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was great to get to meet you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, the chairperson report, just to save time, I don't have any. We'll go down to local school council reports. A student report.
Should I start beginning? Or can I start?
Katie?
Yeah, on my student
Yeah.
report. I'm gonna try to get it done as quick as possible. So let me put up my screen so all of you guys can see my student report.
Okay, great, thank you.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Before I start off with some of the concerns that some of the students have, before I even start at all, I just want you guys to know that a lot of the things that I'm going to mention is going to be in a response of what the students feel about returning back to in-person learning. So a lot of the things that I do have to say revolve around that. And I do have a few things that don't necessarily relate to that. So to start off, I would like to say a couple of things that the students feel great about. They don't have not necessarily a concern, but more of something that students enjoy that the school is doing. The first thing I like to bring up is Lightning Day. Some of the students that I've spoken to love the idea of Lightning Day. They love the fact that they are able to catch up with their classwork, and they love how this day allows them to de-stress and doesn't make them stress as much as they used to with online learning, and lets them help catch up. And one of the things that surprised me a bit was the decahedron. A lot of the students that I have talked to have said that they enjoyed it, that they were able to, they enjoyed that they were able to, as a class together, were able to create these little projects together. They greatly enjoyed the fact that they got to do something fun besides, working on assignments, and they greatly enjoyed it. And for concerns, I like to go on to returning to school. So a lot of the students are very concerned about safety when bringing up this topic of returning to school. And some of the questions that were brought up were how will COVID protocols be practiced when students get back inside the building and when they are traveling inside the classroom? A lot of students will want to know how that will work out. What will be the safety procedures inside the classroom to ensure students' health? They want to know how many students are going to be in the classroom. They want to know how far the desk is going to be socially distanced. They want to know, are there going to be screens on top of their desk? Things along those lines. And another thing that came up was the transitional period. Are students going to be moving from classroom to classroom? Are they going to be in contact with other students? So that's one of their concerns. Also, any one of you you guys are free to interrupt and give a comment here and there or give a response. So feel free to just speak up.
So I'm sorry if I could. Ms. Cervantes did provide me with the questions ahead of time, so I did prepare a slide where I try to address all her questions in one place so that we're not bouncing back and forth. But thank you, Kaidi, for presenting and addressing these very important questions that a lot of us do have concerns about as well. So I'm sorry, you could go ahead and continue.
Thank you. Another thing, not many, but a few students were heavily concerned of the possibility of an outbreak. And if there were, in worst case scenario, they want to know, will the school have a procedure? How will the school handle a possible outbreak, and how will that look like? Another concern will be the dual method teaching. How will teachers ensure that the people who are in school and the people who are at home still at remote learning, how are they still going to get the same amount of attention from their teacher, and how is it going to work how's the teaching going to work? How else would it look like? It will be, how are the cameras going to set up in the classroom? How are the teachers going to be talking to not only the students who are in person, but looking at the comments in the chat for the students who are at home? How is that going to look like? Another topic that students had was uniform. When we return, will there be a uniform policy? A lot of students did not have either given away their uniform, have outgrown them, or simply threw them out. And a lot of them are concerned that if there is going to be a uniform, are they going to have to pay for them again? Are they going to have to rewear the very few that they have? So that was another concern that they had. Classroom and schedule. Are all grade levels going to attend school at the same day? Or will they be days specifically reserved for a certain grade level? A lot of students didn't feel very comfortable with the thought of all 4 grade levels coming into school at one day. And they were thinking along the lines of they would prefer if certain days were reserved for certain grade levels. Another concern will they have was how many students will be in each classroom and how will these classrooms be socially distanced. I already mentioned these, but they heavily emphasized on that. Another one was lunch. Will an entire grade level have lunch together at the classroom, or will they have lunch at class? And how will the lunch be socially distanced if the students are going to have lunch at the lunchroom? Because I remember as a student last year during the first semester, the lunchroom was very crowded. A lot of people were packed together in the lunch lines. A lot of students were packed together in the tables, and a lot of students want to know how lunch would look like. Is it going to be, certain kids in the lunchroom, certain kids in classrooms? They want to know how that would look like. For student involvement, some of the students would love to have a student council for all grade levels. They would love to have the ability to have more student voice besides the local school representative. And this topic, student fees, was not brought up by a lot of students, with the exception of one. This student specifically told me that, I will not name the student, they specifically told me that they didn't want this subject to be brought up because they were scared that with the concern of student fees being brought up, that the administrative would want to bring this up and have all the students pay back the money that they owe from not only this year, but last year.
So I'll pause you there, and not to be rude, just because I know you mentioned it's a concern that it'll be brought up. Just to let you know, the local school council at the beginning of the school year, well, a few things. First of all, the local school council is proactive in voting in not to have a fee this year, collect fees. But even right after that decision was made, CPS did say that no school was to collect fees or anything. So that's not going to be an issue this year. Just to rest you assured that that's not going to be an issue.
Okay, thank you. But one of the concerns about this is how a lot of students aren't even aware of that very fact, how CPS isn't even collecting fees. And I just like to have this topic of student fees probably communicated more, and how just to reassure some of the students' fears regarding that. Student programs. I know that there are some student programs available at the school, but a lot of the students, are not aware of these programs, and a lot of the students do not feel that the programs are very, I don't know how to explain it, but they don't wish to be forced to attend, even though they would love to be involved. And what I mean is that they would prefer a video to be uploaded regarding maybe an active program, like a student had the idea of having a yoga program, but we're not necessarily all together in a classroom, but more of a video being uploaded, which a student can follow at their own time at home. So that was a program, or that was an idea that a student brought up, and how they wish to have more programs involved. Going on to senior concerns, senior pictures. All the seniors that I've spoken to have not heard anything about senior pictures. and they would like to hear an answer regarding that. Graduation, there were not many concerns brought up, but they want to be reassured how graduation will work out this year. Senior council. While I understand there isn't many events for senior councils to organize, they would have liked to have a senior council just to have remote activities that all seniors can do together. And so that was a topic that they would like to have. And for freshman concerns, the only ones that I do have at this current moment is uniform, and this only does apply if uniform policy will be enforced if there is a return. Some of the concerns were, how will the uniforms be distributed? Will the freshmen have to pay for the uniforms that they have for the uniforms that they will get? How will the students have to pay for them, or will they be handed out? And how many of these shirts will be distributed? And that is all for my student report. Mr. Jaramillo, you said you had some responses to some of the things I brought up.
Yeah, so during the principal's report, I prepared a slide just to address all of your questions. So thank you for presenting the questions ahead of time. That was very considerate of you, and it allowed me to put together a thoughtful response to make sure I get you a correct response as well. So during my principal's report, again, I'll present a summary of almost every answer that you, to every question that you had. And if you have another question, you can ask me then, if that's okay with you.
Katie, thank you so much for such a great report, very detailed. I would love to definitely hear Mr. Jaramillo's answers. I will say that there is a survey that was sent out to parents asking about returning back to school. So we want to encourage parents with their students, right, to complete that survey. So then the decision that's being made definitely is done based on student and parent feedback. So Katie, thank you so much. I'm excited that you're part of the student voice and part of this console. So I look forward in working with you.
Thank you.
Anyone else, any other comments? We'll go straight to the athletic report.
Hey, sorry, I'm in my office, so I don't know how well you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Beautiful. All right, so we're in a weird time with athletics. We have 2 seasons actively participating right now, with a third one about to begin April 5th. It was, as Mr. Jaramillo can attest, he went to these same meetings that I did, stall, and then full speed ahead. And so right now we are in the process of finishing winter sports, which are girls basketball, boys basketball, and badminton, which will all finish next week. At the same time, we have for what used to be fall sports, but are now being called spring sports, girls volleyball, football, and boys soccer, also all practicing using all of our facilities all the time. And we, in fact, our boys basketball team is away today at Chicago Academy, and are thankfully for that. Volleyball got the big gym, which is why I was late to the meeting. My apologies. And then boys soccer has their first game tomorrow already. So it is nonstop. And I have to give all of my coaches mad credit, because they have been supremely organized, creating Google Classrooms for their classes, having students upload their physicals in advance. They have been tireless in trying to get the kids out and following all of the mandates and protocols that we have. The students all have to do the same screener the adults do every time they step foot in the building. And that's the opposing team as well. Our students have to do the screener if they take a bus for Steinmetz and for the school that they're going to. It's become, they're very accustomed. They wear their masks now. They know to bring their own water. They're getting used to the procedures. And more importantly, they are thrilled to be back. The kids are so happy to be playing again. They're so happy to see each other. Today, 2 girls saw each other for the first time in forever, and they went to almost go hug, and then they both stopped themselves and went, sorry. And they air high-fived each other. You know what I mean? So they understand what's at stake, but at the same time, while they're trying to have fun, they're also, it's just such a great feeling of normalcy that they're back out in the world again and back in their school building. And we have freshman girls out on the volleyball team who are excited that yesterday was the first day they set foot in their high school. You know what I mean? For some of them, they got to see the gyms and they were like, I said, today we're in our girls' gym. This is the second of 3. They're like, we have 3 gyms? They don't know. And so it's so exciting for our kids to see some of the facilities and to be out there. And we're doing well. Both of our basketball teams have done pretty well this season. They're both over 500, I believe. Badminton, who knew badminton would take off? And Coach Roldan started up that team because kids were bored and they're having a blast. They're having a really good time. And even if they're not doing well, he said yesterday, watching the girls from Steinmetz and the girls from Taft play each other was watching, they were having so much fun. It was like they were at a sleepover. They were just having such a good time. And we need to be able to provide that for the kids. And that's pretty amazing. So we do move into the only problem that we are seeing. Well, there are 2. One is buses, because we cannot put more than 12 students on a bus. We are taking multiple buses. And again, the coaches have been phenomenal. They have been very organized. They've made sure that the kids sit separately. But for very large teams, this could be very problematic. But we're doing the best we can. We're very lucky. Soccer got every game at home this year. So we're going to be using that beautiful field constantly. So buses are a bit of a problem, but we're making it work. And then, of course, there's the overlap, because the seasons overlap by 2 to 3 weeks. Kids who are in one sport that used to play multiple sports now cannot. So, for example, we've got today's volleyball practice. We had 2 volleyball practices. We had a total of almost 30 girls. Many of them are softball players. They can't play softball until volleyball season ends. Volleyball season ends April 23rd. Softball season starts April 5th. What do you do? So we're working through it. We're doing the best that we can, but it's going to be a little ugly, and kids are going to unfortunately have to make some tough choices. You know, do I miss softball games to finish volleyball season, or do I quit volleyball to play softball? So, but this is just the reality of coming back and having everything condensed. But otherwise, I feel like we've been doing a really solid job getting the kids back in the building and back into sports. And before I take any, yeah, exactly. If Jacob wanted to play, so Ms. Valentine put her son Jacob had to leave basketball to be able to play football. It's just for the purpose of contact. They want to keep the kids in pods of 15. You can't leave one pod, go to another pod, and then come back to your pod. It's not good socially distancing. It's not good practice for keeping us controlling who is where and with whom. So there is that. I do want to say on a non-sports thing, just really quickly, Katie, thank you for all of your hard work. I thought that was amazing. And I think the answers, when Mr. Jaramillo answers them, I think what's happening is I know the parents are going to get this survey, but they don't know how to answer that yet until they hear some of the answers to these great questions. So I think those were really insightful. And I just want to say that as much as the lightning days are helpful, boy, did the fact that we have progress reports going in today really light a fire under them to use lightning days today. I got more late work in today than I don't know. There's a third quarter slump that kids go through, but I think reminding the kids that we're sending out progress reports so they know that we're watching their grades, I think that made a huge difference. And lightning day today really gave them that time and the impetus to really work. So they did. So that's all for me, for both as a teacher and as athletic director, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anything else on teacher reports, since you did such a great job in going right into it?
Yeah, and I think it'll be covering both the teachers and the PBFC, but I also like to just echo those things. For some reason, I don't know if Mr. Harmiel stole CPS calendar, but the last two reports, it was due on a lightning day, which was great, but it makes for a hard day. I mean, I barely finished in the nick of time because I gave the students today. It makes for a hard day for us, but I like it because, you know, it gives us that whole class period. So great timing to do grades. The other thing I would say that Mr. Cervantes, the teachers echo some of the same concerns with the lack of information. And I just think it's not a lack of information because, you know, Mr. Harmiel don't know. CPS is still figuring it out. We know that, and that's why, you know, it was a big issue with the elementary school. So we do have some of the same concerns. My concerns is not as great as some of the other teachers because I'm going to school a little bit often, and I do look at some of the sports, and Ms. Russo is right on. The students are really good with wearing their masks. They're pretty good at coming in. They know the procedure. They come with their phone. And so now I have a little bit more confidence when we start some of our programs. During the family reunion, if you don't know what that is, that's when we were doing our shots on Saturday at the PBC. But it was great. The students, the teachers are looking to come back. They are looking to come back, but they do have the concerns about, you know, how things are going to be ran. But I think with some of all the things that we've done, and I think one of the, I probably can't use her name, but one of the teachers said that because we done so many different things with our students, we got some of the same concern. We feel closer through, you know, being online. You know, we have confidence in some of the things that are going on in our school, and so for the most part, you know, do they have some concern? But I think that our teachers will probably be there with bells on pretty easier than most teachers because of our school has been open throughout the whole year. But there was one concern, and the concern is like if we come back, you know, having the shots in the building and being ready for the next day and things like that. That was one of the other concerns. And I said it's on a Saturday, Sunday they clean up pretty good, and you'll be good. And they're only using certain areas in the hallway, but that's one of the concerns.
Non-teacher report.
For us, a lot of the people, like Master Sergeant said about the vaccines, a lot of our team was very, very appreciative to have the opportunity to receive the vaccine, especially because we're coming back. And, you know, a lot of our members have people in their family who are high risk. So I'm sure Mr. Jaramillo and Ms. Russo and Mr. Jaramillo and Mr. Master Sergeant Davis have gotten a lot of praise because everyone's excited because we're hosting vaccines. I know we had a little bit of a hiccup the week one, but once we started rolling, well, you know, with Northwest Housing and 36 Ward with Ms. Valentine and everyone that has come together in the community helping out one another for a collective, you know, growth in the drop in Belmont-Cragen because we were so bad when it comes to COVID and PCC as well, right? Not just us. Everybody was really excited when it comes to that because they're worried about family members still. And people out here think that COVID is over with, but we have to be more cautious than ever now because the vaccine doesn't make you immune to it, right? So the ESPs that are in the building were super excited because they were already a little weary of coming in the building since the beginning of the year, but now they have a little bit more confidence and they're able to speak to more parents because they feel a little bit more protected if they show up for any help or anything like that. So we're trying our best at the school without having our kids in front of us, but we reach out to them as much as we can, either whether it's congratulating them or having to pull their coattail for a little something. But we're trying to finish the third quarter strong, and if we get them back in the fourth quarter, it has been a great lift having our sports around because I'm able to. We're all able to see some of those faces that we're used to and some of those smiles that we're used to that give us the energy to get up every day to go to work at a school, right? So that's pretty much our report. And on a side report, this is from myself personally. I am the lead for parent engagement. So I'm trying to figure out a couple more different ideas. If you guys can help me, or just shoot me an email whenever you can. Besides shooting an email or having just a phone call with parents to try to have them engage a little bit more. I spoke to Ms. Cotto and let her know that we were going to bring it up. Well, I was going to bring it up for us here in the LSC meeting, because obviously we have a lot of parents in the group, and we have different stakeholders, as well as Mr. Jaramillo, our fearless leader. So if you guys have any ideas that I could piggyback off of, whether it's, canvassing or dropping off some flyers, maybe like at a laundromat or something like that, just so we can get the word out that, Steinmetz is a safe place for them to come to ask whatever questions they need, because we are a part of their community, right? They're not a part of our community. We're a part of their community. So that's just something that I needed to reach out to you guys about, because I have some ideas, but a lot of them haven't been giving me the results that I've wanted. So if you guys have any of them, feel free to shoot me an email, or if I can collab with, Jeremy or Ms. Valentin with 36 Wards somehow, if there's some kind of event, however we help each other out, and when we can get the verbiage out to our family members and our community, that would be great. And Mr. Quiles too, because you're a super community dude. So yeah. Thank you guys.
Wow, Mr. De Jesus Lefty, that powerful words, right? And I think we've learned a lot, right? We've learned a lot through this pandemic, and I think about collaborations, right? We're stronger when we all work together, right? We're all stakeholders, right? If the LSC gets involved, right, with the school and the nonprofits and the government, right? What could we not do for our students and our school? So thank you for lifting that up, because I think that's what's making us be different. And I have many ideas for the parents, but I think this is one that Mr. Jaramillo, Cassandra, and Jose been talking about, is how do we reopen Parent University, right? Where we have a space for parents to come get the help they need, right? Or even share the help they need, right? Because we continue to say, right, the student's not going to be successful if mom and dad are not successful, right?
Sure.
So let's continue this conversation. It makes me excited. I think Cassandra may have a lot of great ideas as well. But it's something that as we move past, this pandemic, we need to really reach out to our families, kind of meet them where they're at, and we're not used to that, right? But I think we all play a role, and we can help with that. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Sorry, Cassandra, I didn't see your little emoji, but you're super down with the community too. But yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, just to piggyback off what Vanna said, I'm super excited to see what we could do in Parent University to be able to support our parents and community in whatever capacity that we can, and bring in different resources so that we can return to some kind of normalcy and return to engagement and all that. But thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. PPLC.
We kind of combined them, so you can just go to the next one.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I had a question for the athletic group. Because well, I don't know who wants to take the question, but I saw some teams, football teams, practicing in the field. Are those ours, or are they coming from another school?
No, Mr. Quiles, what the football team does is during our practice, we have weight room inside, and we actually run our hallway. So I'd say you probably saw maybe 10 to 12 kids or something like that on the field. What they do is we work them out inside, and then afterwards they go out on their own. But most of those are all of our kids. And then the other half that you see is the soccer team with Mr. Cochera. But since I have to be with them only, I believe it's an hour and a half per conditioning rules. That's why I have them with me inside during weight room. But I should be out there in the next week or so, because that's when we're going to be able to be with them out on the field itself.
Oh, okay, thank you. Just making sure that,
Yeah.
you know, it's our kids that are benefiting of our fields and not people from the outside that are not with a permit.
No, yeah,
messing
the
up our
kids,
fields.
the kids remind me every single day. They're like, "Oh, Coach Lefty, it's 40 degrees outside. Let's go outside. Let's go outside." I'm like, we have to stay inside for the next week, and we have to condition until before we get outside. So they let me know every single day that they want to go outside. So anytime, any opportunity that they get to get onto the field and throw the ball around a little bit, they take advantage of for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and to that point, there was a small little league team practicing in the softball fields. I was picking up Jacob from football, and I called Mr. Jaramillo right away. So I think we have brought it up, right, in this council meeting many of times about the fields and the usage. So I think it's fair to say we need to continue to have a deeper conversation about that topic as the weather's getting better, as people are getting ready to start little leagues. So we're following a process and we know how we're going to address it. So I'm sure Jaramillo will address it in principal report. Back report. Mr. Jaramillo, back?
No, I don't have a back report.
No, okay. Special Education Committee, any report?
No report.
CIWP,
No report.
Fundraising Committee,
No report.
Financial Review, Monthly Budget, Internal Accounts. We have that further down in the agenda. Any community report?
No report.
Facilities and Grounds.
Just quick up.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I'm sorry.
Just a quick update. The facilities did, they put out a bid to have our fire alarm panels redone and fire alarm system. This was something that was part of the Steinmetz 2020 vision. And we have been advocating for a long time because of all the issues with the fire alarm panels. So that actually went out. That's all being controlled by facilities. We don't have any part in that bidding process or anything like that. The scope was put together by facilities. It was sent out to bid, and we've been told that it is a job that is going to happen. It's a very expensive job. I don't know what the pricing is going to be yet, but as soon as I do hear about the prices and the bids and the scope of the job, I'll let you know that information. The other thing is facilities did also, we advocated and they came in and they were able to repaint some of the ceilings in the main hallway by the principal's office and by the security office, scrape and paint where there was a lot of paint chips falling off the ceiling. And that should be completed this week. In addition, we found out that we advocated, and I'm very happy to report that they are going to repaint the ceiling and under the balcony in the main gym. And that is going to be occurring the week before spring break, and the work will continue and be completed during spring break. So I'm grateful to facilities for prioritizing us and for making it happen so that we can get those areas repaired.
Awesome. Great news. Great news. All right. So principal report.
All right. I'm going to try to keep it short as possible. I asked Master Sergeant to limit my time so that we can give it to the yearbook committees. The yearbook presentations. So I'm just going to show a tab with my slides. I'm just going to go through them very quickly. And, if you want to ask me questions, feel free. And I will try to keep it as simple as possible. So give me 1 second to make my screen a little bigger so I can read it. Just some LSC related communications. As Ms. Valentin said at the beginning, Ms. Lourdes Sanchez sent a letter of resignation that can be shared with you later. But just know that we will have to advertise her position and go through that process probably at the next council meeting. Remember, I sent out some emails regarding required trainings. If you have any questions, reach out to our facilitator, which is Ms. Veronica Dearden Jackson, or Dr. Willie Montes de Oca if you have any questions regarding training. Student LSC election, it's mandatory every year. It will be conducted this month. Informational letter was sent to students via their Aspen email in February. And then also be aware that coming up soon, probably in the next month, it's that time of year again where we will have to talk about and discuss school safety plans and the SRO considerations. We're still waiting and receiving, I should say, and waiting guidance from Safety and Security Office of how that will look and what the plans are and what we need to have incorporated in that plan. As soon as I receive more information, I will be sharing with you. Student report, thank you again for the thoughtful questions. I know that there's a lot of questions on there that I even have questions about, that I have concerns about, and I know the teachers as well and the students, and they're very valid concerns and very valid questions. Regarding the return to school, which we don't know when high schools will return. We don't know if that's going to look like every year group is going to return on certain days. We don't know if that's going to be, just freshmen or just seniors, or which year group is going to return. Is that going to be fourth quarter? Is it going to be after spring break? We honestly don't know any of that. What I can tell you is that right now that's being discussed between CPS and the CTU. There is a principal committee and administrators who have put together some of a plan and have gone back and forth with CPS. And then that was also a plan that was presented. The CTU has given feedback and everything else, and that's what they're in discussions right now. As a matter of fact, right during the time of this meeting at 5 o'clock until I believe 6 or 6:30, CPS did have a town hall to talk about high school reopening plans and trying to get community feedback. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend. None of us were, but I believe that meeting will be on YouTube later today on the CPS website. They usually do post those things. So I'm going to be looking for that. And I have my assistant principals attend that meeting so they can report back to me what is being heard, because we really don't know what that's going to look like. Regarding social distancing, lunches, class schedules, etc., all of that, again, is pending CPS guidance. I agree with you. The lunchroom, if any place where you're going to have mass groups of students, it's going to be the lunchroom and the halls. We are concerned about social distancing. What I can say is that, we do have the stickers on the floor, to, signage in the bathrooms and around the building. We do have PPE, hand sanitizer, masks for every student, temperature checks, air filtration, water fountain adapters, paper towel dispensers, increased cleaning, screens in offices. All those things have been put in place in preparation for students to return, but we don't know what the final requirements are going to be. Even just the other day, we were originally under the impression that we had to maintain 6-foot distancing. And just recently, the other day, I heard, I wasn't sure if it was the state or the CDC said that for return to school, that could be decreased from 3 feet to 6 feet. Now, that doesn't mean that that's what it's, from 6 feet to 3 feet, I don't know. CPS can still have its own requirements in addition to that. So that's left to be seen. We're not sure what that's going to be. Uniforms regarding if and when students return, that's to be determined. That's a discussion that, we would have to have with the council and figure out. I know that at the beginning of the year, when we had discussed fees and everything, we had talked about no uniform for online learning, but we have not approached the conversation yet about returning to school yet. And part of that is if only one year group returns, we have to see which year group and uniforms and all that stuff. So we haven't had that conversation yet. And just like everybody else, as soon as we get more information, I think we would be in a better place to be able to discuss those things and figure out what that's going to look like. There will be some type of uniform policy in place. Every school has a uniform policy. But as far as for this year and returning, we haven't had that discussion yet. Student fees, as I mentioned earlier, per CPS, no student fees collected at this time, but our council was proactive earlier in the year and they voted to waive fees even before CPS decided to say no collection of fees. So that's no worry at this time. After school programs, currently a challenge and remote. I agree there are opportunities to create more programs, and we absolutely want to hear your feedback because this has been a recurring topic of discussion through our after school programs and our community schools grant. And there is a needs assessment that's in progress, asking, about students' needs, asking teachers about students' needs, community parents. That will be coming out. And they have been sending some surveys, and you should be receiving survey hopefully in the next month or so to kind of see what is some of the programming and creating those opportunities. Senior Pictures, as you can imagine, due to COVID, the company that we usually work with was shut down for most of the year. It wasn't until recently that we were able to make contact with them, and we were reaching out to a few different companies, but there was a challenge due to COVID, of course, and announcement will be sent by the end of the week. As a matter of fact, coincidentally, that flyer was finished today, and so you should, if you haven't received it yet, you should receive it by the end of the week. Senior class officer nomination process will be sent by the end of the week as well. I appreciate you bringing that back up and bringing it to my attention. To be honest with you, I thought that process already had taken place. I asked a few questions and I found out that process has not taken place. And that was supposed to take place at the beginning of second semester. So we're a few weeks delayed on that. And I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. There should be something sent out by the end of the week so that election of senior class officers can take place. Graduation, we don't have any of the details yet. CPS, that is another area that they are discussing. There's going to be guidance from CPS. That's what we were told at a network meeting. And the parameters are going to be set for all high schools to basically have the same standards as far as what will be acceptable and what will not be acceptable. I can say now that the idea of an auditorium type of graduation, that's not going to take place. But we have to see what, as the rules evolved and what the final decision is by CPS. So it's these are not maybe the answers you want to hear. It's a lot of questions all of us are sharing. Unfortunately, it's the type of situation where you have to hurry up and wait and hope that we hear the responses soon so I can share it with everyone. Vaccination update. I'm sorry, were there any questions before I continue on? Okay, first 4 weeks, we're working with Oak Street Health. First 4 weeks, dose 1, over 11,000 community members are vaccinated. The next 4 weeks will focus on dose 2 only. We had an interview by ABC Nightline who came to visit the process. The potential air date we were told is going to be tonight on Channel 7 at 11:35. They interviewed Dr. Arwadi from Department of Health for City of Chicago and the mayor's office. She was pleased to see how smooth the process was. At the same time, we don't know what part of the interview will air because they're going to be doing a story on community efforts and vaccination nationwide. But I do know that they were there for a significant amount of time interviewing her and some others, Dr. Ali, who's from Oak Street, and some others, and trying to put together a story. So hopefully we make the edit and we'll see a little bit about Steinmetz and our efforts tonight. Some of the partners we're working with: Oak Street Health, Northwest Side Housing Center, Office of 36 Ward Alderman Gilbert Villegas, and of course our wonderful Steinmetz staff volunteers. I cannot sing their praises enough. Every weekend we have 5 volunteers volunteer in the morning and then in the afternoon shift. On Saturdays and Sundays, giving up their weekends to be there to help guide people around the process. And they've been great. And it's actually allowed some of our staff members to, like Mr. Hayes was saying earlier, feel more comfortable being around other people. And, because we're all coming out of this pandemic and isolation. And it's really actually served to help reassure those who weren't necessarily sure, like what precautions have been taken in the building and what does the process look like. So we've been making some progress in that area, and people are feeling more comfortable once they get to come to the building and see all the sanitation equipment and stickers, signage, and all that other stuff. I would also like to say that PCC Clinic, although they're not the organization that is doing the 11,000 vaccinations, they are now part of the Protect Chicago Plus program. So once this is over with Oak Street, they will still be vaccinating at their Fullerton location, residents of 60639. And unlike the previous, few weeks, which you had to be a patient of PCC, now as part of Protect Chicago Plus, you don't have to be a patient of PCC to be vaccinated. So they will continue to vaccinate 60639. At a local level, PCC made it vaccinations available to our staff members, and I've been super grateful for them making sure that that's happening for our staff members. But I'm also grateful that they've allowed me to reach out to local feeder schools and high schools to offer the same opportunity for any staff members who have not been vaccinated. So on a slow basis, I've been reaching out to the different schools. I've reached out to Mary Lyon, Locke, Foreman, Prosser, Chicago Academy, Cameras, and I know I'm forgetting some other schools, but we're slowly expanding our reach to offer the vaccine so that we don't have 1,000 people at one time. But on average, every school has been sending us maybe like between 20 and 30 people per school who have not had the opportunity to be vaccinated, whether it's custodians, whether it's ESPs, whether it's teachers. Everybody who works at the school, works with our children, are able to be vaccinated through PCC if they wish to do so. So if anybody's hearing this, or somebody that works in one of these schools and they haven't had the opportunity, they just reach out to me. I add them to the list, and then we send them the directions on how to schedule that appointment. General announcements: progress reports will be mailed out by the end of next week. They will be printed by a central location as we have throughout this pandemic. Sports are back in session, as Ms. Rizzo reported earlier. An update: Illinois state testing waiver was approved. So that was per the state of Illinois. They waived the PSAT for 9th and 10th grade, which will not be administered in April. So that is a logistical challenge that has been removed. What has not been waived is that SAT for all 11th graders is still going to occur, and the opportunity given to 12th graders who did not test in the fall. So most of our 12th graders have already tested, so it's not really a challenge. We may have maybe 4 or 5 that need that opportunity to test in April. As Ms. Valentine mentioned earlier as well, the opt-in survey was sent to parents. It's very important. I've sent emails to parents in addition to the CPS communication saying, please fill out this survey. It helps give us an idea of who is returning or who would like to be considered for returning once that decision and date is released, so that planning can occur. And that way CPS can also get an idea of how many students are planning to return whenever that announcement is made of a start date. The CPS town hall about reopening is happening right now, or actually is done now. It's from 5 to 6:30. Unfortunately, we weren't able to attend. State of Illinois is releasing pandemic EBT cards, which basically are cards where funds will be added on there. That is being automatically generated and sent. All students qualify. Those cards are going to the address that's on file with CPS. So that's why we've encouraged parents over and over and over again to make sure that information is correct on the CPS system. But that's coming directly from the state. And my understanding is it's about $6 and something cents for each day that a student is not in-person learning. So if you're in remote, for each day that you're in remote and you attend, they will load $6 and something cents onto the card for that. Date of graduation will be Wednesday, June 16th at 2021. I say that for the most part, that's a solid date, but just in case, if there's any changes, we'll let you know. But as of right now, per the CPS calendar from the beginning of the year, that's the date of graduation. If that means maybe online like we did last year, that will be the official commencement ceremony if that's what CPS asked us to do. If not, if we have a drive-by or something else, a parade or something else, that may take place on another day or the same day. So that's still all tentative. That's all I have. I try to keep it short. I hope I kept it short enough for you. But if you have any questions, please let me know and I will try to answer those for you.
Mr. Jaramillo, I just want to acknowledge Ms. Russo, Master Sergeant Davis, and Mr. De Jesus. I think, man, every time that I see them come in and join us in those Saturday and Sunday events, it just shows the power of community, the power of Steinmetz. And I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for that sacrifice. Those are long days, very hectic. Ms. Russo, you act like you understand everything they're saying and they're still happy. So it's just, again, this just really means a lot. And we're doing it together as a SKU community. And, you know, my husband too, he was somewhere and he's hearing the meeting. He got up and he says, I'm saying thank you too. So Ruben, Mr. Valentin says thank you as well. And thank you, Mr. Jaramillo, for taking this on and being resilient through the process. We're learning, but I think we're not just only teaching other schools how to do it and communities. I think we're teaching national how to do it, and that's pretty powerful and that's pretty cool. So we get to talk about Steinmetz, right? So that's just exciting, and I just wanted to express gratitude.
Thank you. And we're grateful to you as well, not only for your dedication every weekend, working the 12, 14-hour days, but also for advocating for our community and advocating to make sure that these vaccines take place in a place that's accessible and in an equitable manner for our community. And Ms. Lopez raised her hand, so I think she wants to say something.
Yes, I have a question. First of all, I want to thank for telling us in your report that you don't have the information, and I think it's very important. And sometimes it's better to hear that there is no answer yet than come out with any other answer. And I appreciate that transparency and that way of communicate things the way it is. So thank you for that, first of all. And second, I have a concern about the students that might, because of medical conditions or because they have an IP or disability, are unable to stay with the protocol of the wearing the mask and follow that protocol as well. Do we have any plan in place, or we are trying to create any plan in place for that group of students at Steinmetz?
Yeah, that's a great question. As far as, I would say that our students who may have trouble, keeping on the mask for medical reasons, maybe, I don't know, let's say the doctor says, they can't keep it on for long term, so on and so forth. CPS, we're using the model basically for elementary schools, which CPS has allowed certain exemptions for students, but they need to have a doctor's note and everything else. I can't give you the details of that exemption and what that looks like. I know that a lot of that has occurred, especially in cluster programs for severe and profound students who have special needs. They're severe and profound. So I'm sure that's going to be made clear when we have our high school coming back information. And in regards to mask wearing, our students will be required to wear masks. CPS has provided us, I say with, I think it's about between 3,000 and 4,000 masks, I believe. They've provided us that we have on site already, a cloth mask, which are reusable. I think packs of 3 or packs of 5. I think it's the same one Ms. Russo uses with the athletes. And they've provided enough to be able to give to our students, as well as disposable masks. So a lot of what we're learning at the high school level comes from the examples of what the elementary schools are currently going through. One thing that maybe will help ease your mind as well, which I forgot to answer this in Kaidi's questioning, was that we also had to set up what's called a care room, in which if students, they come in, they have a screener, the parents are supposed to fill out ahead of time. They take their temperature, and if the student shows any symptoms whatsoever, then they are basically escorted to a care room in which their parents are called, their temperatures checked again, in order to be picked up. But these are some of the processes that the elementary schools are currently doing and some of the cluster programs throughout the city. I would say it's safe to assume that we would have to also follow those same procedures once high schools return in person.
Thank you for that answer. And my second question is that how is being the attendance during the remote learning? Is being okay? Is being struggling? Or what is the percentage of attendance do we have at Steinmetz with the pandemic and remote learning?
If I remember correctly, I believe our current percentage is at 82%. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're currently 82%. Mr. DeJesus could probably answer more about it, but we are currently at 82%. Engagement has been going on online. I know that there was recently a report by the news about some other schools that didn't have high engagement. Fortunately, we, considering, all things considered, our engagement is lower, of course, the attendance rate than previous years because we're remote, but it's relatively in a good place right now, considering all the challenges that our zip code has, not only with COVID, but also with technology access and online access. And, Northwest has been working in getting access for students through the Chicago Connected program. And we've been working with our STLS population to get them access and computers as well, which, we advocated at the beginning of the year to get them Chromebooks. We were able to get over 700 Chromebooks to our students. So that has contributed to being able to have a higher level than some other schools. But Angel, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about it.
So Ms. Lopez, I'm in the school every single day. So is our IAT guy, Mr. Rodriguez. We have had a lot of hiccups, right? Not only us, but schools throughout the nation, let's say. And the most difficult issues that we've had this year is technology-based, because a lot of our families, unfortunately, cannot afford those Chromebooks or cannot afford Wi-Fi, or the different things that impede them from their students receiving that educational benefit every single day. So Mr. Jaramillo was really, really diligent about getting all of the Chromebooks that we can get in the beginning of the year over the summer. I know there was some pictures posted. I don't have a Facebook, but everybody was, texting me, telling me, hey, you're popular on Facebook. You're giving out Chromebooks and stuff like that. And we were trying to meet every single student with the need, whether it was a Chromebook or if they were eligible for the MiFi device that was being provided through the STLS program, or the other program that is working with us with Northwest Housing, so we can get some of those lower income families the ability for their students to get access to e-learning, right? And that's why it's such a big deal having a good enough plan through CPS for when they come back, so they can remain with us. Because if CPS doesn't give us the correct plan to keep our doors open, we're just going to have an outbreak, and then we're going to be back to square one. So to attest to what Mr. Jaramillo is saying, we're trying our best with every tool that we have under our belt to keep our activity going with attendance as much as possible, whether it's reaching out to parents on a daily basis, or mail communication, or just being inviting when it comes to seeing them in vaccines, because I've ran into a lot of parents, because a lot of our parents are in the 60639 area, and a lot of them think that they cannot visit the school for whatever reason if they were in trouble with something. And I let them know that that's not the case, that they just have to go through the proper protocols, and we can help them out as much as we can, or find the people or the resources that we need to help them. So yes, you are correct, Ms. Lopez. We are facing a very big task with attendance, but we are not the only ones in the city. And I let you know, from me, we try to do it every single day, the better we can every single day, not only because of COVID, but when we're in session as well. It's going to be much more of a difficult task, having some hybrid kids maybe, and some at home, and like you speak of, some of those students that are at high risk. But if you ever have any questions, I'll throw my my phone number and email in the chat. So if you want to give me a call or you shoot me an email, you're more than welcome to. Okay.
Okay, thank you for answering my questions.
No problem.
Well, that concludes the principal's report. I guess we could go on to the I'm sorry. Part of the principal's report is also the no old business. I already went through my presentation. New business would be budget transfers, which I emailed that. I apologize for that being late. I received that from our budget specialist late this afternoon. But I did send it to you via email, and
Mr. Jaramillo, Vanessa's having some technical difficulties. She threw it in the chat, just so you know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see your message.
I think she has no audio.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Valentine, I guess then, Vice President, would you like to take on the responsibilities of the rest of the meeting?
Yes, I don't have the agenda in front of me.
I'll catch you up, sir.
Okay.
So we're at budget transfers. So to make a motion for budget transfers.
Okay, we make a motion to approve the budget transfer as submitted.
I second that.
Okay, open for discussion. No discussion. Let's go into voting. Those in favor? Roll call, please.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes.
Can someone type in there to tell Ms. Valentine that we're doing the budget transfer? I mean, if she wants to chat. Mr. Keelis?
Aye.
Davis, yes. Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. De Jesus?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
Mrs. Sanchez is not here. Mr. Schwager is not here. Mr. Toledo, Mr. is not here. Mr. Geary is not here. And we're not going to have the student vote on this one. So we have 8 waiting on Ms. Valentine, but we got 8 yes, no no's, motion pass at 5:34.
All right, thank you. And I would just make a comment. As you can see, Ms. Valentine has some connection issues. I have connection issues. I'm using my phone for audio and my computer for video. And this is just one of the challenges of being in remote. So I just thought it was kind of ironic, but.
I thought that was your twin. Okay, Sergeant Davis, what's the next thing on the agenda?
The next is to approve internal accounts.
I have a motion to approve the internal accounts as submitted.
I second that.
Open for discussion. No discussion. Close the discussion. Those in favor, roll call, please.
And just for the record, Ms. Valentine said yes on the other vote. Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes.
Ms. Valentine, if you're back on. If not, you can do another.
She just, yes.
Okay, there we go. Mr. Keelis?
Aye.
Son Davis, yes. Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. De Jesus?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez is absent. Mr. Schwager is absent. Mr. Toledo is absent. Mr. Geary is absent. And Mr. Bertez, no vote at this time. 8 yes, no no's, motion passed, 7:35.
And that's all for principal's report. Thank you.
Okay, we move on. What's the next thing on the agenda?
Before we do the final thoughts.
Okay. I would like to present something. You know, I know that there was one parent that resigned, but there, I believe, other members there that I heard on roll call for the past 3 months. And according to the rules is that if they don't show up in 3 months, we notify them if they're not going to continue, so we could open it up for other parents or other council members to come in and not wait until the end. So I don't know what the rest of the council members think about that.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. This is meeting number 3. So as the process dictates, we have to announce it or bring it up now. And then I think the president or the secretary sends an official letter to them to allow them to come to the next meeting to present their case if they want to continue on. If not, they will be removed if they don't respond. And then from there, I think then the position is advertised. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
We have to do a certified. I don't even think it had to be certified, but I'm in school tomorrow, so I can definitely do the letter if you all just send a letter out this week. And I just got to have proof that we sent the letter out and put it on the agenda for next month to vote. We can advertise it at the same time.
Right. According to my knowledge, is an announcement is sent out to let them know that the council has decided to make to vote to make a removal due 3 consecutive absence in a regular LSC meetings for them to appear in person and give a feedback, or otherwise the LSC can proceed and vote on the removal, and then resend another letter notification with the removal.
So do we present a motion to move forward with the letter? And so that way we could have next month something to work on?
Yes, that's all we
I
have
second.
to do.
Oh, Vanessa second.
Okay. So having that motion, it's open for discussion.
And I'll do also email too. We can do email as well. So we have 2 notifications. We'll do the letter and I'll give it to you, Mr. Harmon, just for review. And I don't have all the emails. I don't know we have all those.
For the record, what are the council members that have not shown up for the past 3 meetings? Because I know
we have
I know
3.
But I just want to make sure that we are not only sending to one and not the others.
We have 3, Oswego, Toledo, and Aguirre.
Okay. So the motion would be to send all 3 the letter.
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion on that? I kind of read something that the chairperson put down. Do you have it on site that you can see it? I can't see it.
It says oh, go ahead, Mr. Sergeant. I'm sorry.
We need to recruit, focus on recruitment to fill a vacancy before the school year ends.
Okay.
Yes, we still got the poll to vote now, so I can go ahead and do that now.
Yeah, closing the discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Harmil?
Yes.
Ms. Valentine?
Yes, she wrote yes in the chat.
Mr. Keelis?
Yes.
Son Davis, yes. Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. De Jesus,
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez,
Yes.
Ms. Cervantes,
Yes.
9 yes, no no's. Motion passed 7:41 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Another question that I know that she cannot speak, but didn't we vote that these meetings were going to last 2 hours?
We did, you're correct, but the reason this meeting went over, not so much so that we had the other individual, because it actually cut down a little bit, and we put the agenda out and we approved the agenda. So once you approved the agenda, you automatically said you were gonna go over 2 hours at the beginning of the meeting. The other thing is we didn't expect as many questions on the Divi bikes, and that would really put us over because the individuals on the yearbook was actually went under their time. Divi bikes, and I think due to us asking questions, that's why we went over.
Yeah, no, that's just point of clarification. So the FOID could let us know when the 2 hours is done, and then we could present to continue the meeting with a like an extension, so that way we're fair to everybody that we went with the 2 hour limit.
Right.
Sure,
but
I
tonight,
can definitely.
yeah, the night
I'm
was
sorry.
the night meeting was planned for 2 hours and a half. So when we look at the agenda, if it goes over that in the future, I just make sure we bring that to your attention is the LSC members.
No.
Can I say something real quick? It was a jam-packed agenda, and I was very appreciative. It was a lot of information that was shared, which is great. But maybe next time, if we have presentations like that, maybe break it down to different subjects by month or something. So like we had the Divi bikes and we also had yearbook. So what I'm saying is maybe this month should have been Divi bikes and then yearbook, or vice versa. That's all. So it wouldn't go over.
And I think Mr. Harmir would have done that, but because of time constraint, I think we couldn't do it because the yearbooks are due, getting ready to come out shortly. The deadline for that is out. I would be using the yearbook for next year, so we probably could, I don't know.
Okay, no, just point of clarification. I mean, for me, I could stay all night if you guys want to, but that's we got to respect that some of you's been up early, working with a lot of computer and paperwork, and it's not fair, for a lot of the people. For me, I don't mind. I don't care. But like if we go to the 2 hour. It would be announced the 2 hours done, and we as a council agree to continue the meeting. I think it would be the proper way of moving for a longer meeting.
Yep.
Okay, anything else? Nothing else. Russo, you had a suntan. I see you with a suntan.
She does. She want to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
March.
I don't know what you're talking about, suntan. I don't go anywhere.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that.
Nobody wanted to leave. Second by Mr. Jaramillo. Open for discussion. No discussion. Those in favor, roll call, please.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Yes.
Ms. Valentine? Mr. Keelis? Yes, of course. Son Davis? Yes. Ms. Lopez?
Yes.
Ms. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. De Jesus?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez?
Yes.
And Ms. Cervantes?
Yes.
9 yes, no no's. Motion passed 7:45 p.m.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
The next LSC meeting will take place on April 14th on a Wednesday at 5 o'clock for 2 hours.
Have a good night. Thank
All
you.
right, have a good night, everyone.
There you go. That's my
Good night.
principle.
See you tomorrow, Katie.
All right. All right, I'm gonna wait for everybody to leave so I can stop recording.